Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And today we've got a chit chat, sit down video where I'm going to give you my mystery thriller book recs. Now, I'm very excited about this, guys. I genuinely think mystery and thriller became something I just needed, something quick and easy, and it became a genre that I thoroughly enjoyed very quickly. So I'm going to stop yabbering and I'm just going to get into it. So let's get started. I have got a mixture of both YA and adult ones. So if you are interested in YA, I would say some portion of the video will be for you. If you have got more of an adult side and you want more of a thriller side, then I also have some recs for you, but I will try and keep it running. So I think I'm going to start with mystery first because they're the easiest. So we're most likely going to have more YA mysteries just because it was just something that I have more of apparently. So for YA mystery, we've got The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Now, in this book, we are following Avery. She has a plan, keep her head down, work, she'll get a future. When one day an eccentric billionaire dies and she is left with almost this entire fortune, and you've got to kind of figure out why she's been left with this money from this dead billionaire. And it's got secrets, it's got love, it's got a bit of mystery, solving cracking like rumors and things like that. So I thoroughly enjoyed this. I think it's a really good, quick and easy one to get into. I did read this quite a few years ago, so when I did read it, I did thoroughly enjoy it. The next series I've also got is by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and this is a kind of YA take on Criminal Minds, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So we are following Cassie's got let me start. We are following Cassie in this series, but we're also following a group of teenagers who all have kind of FBI profiling abilities. We have people who can read each other, read feelings and things like that. And basically, Cassie gets chosen to join the program and solve cold cases and things like that, FBI cold cases and unsolved homicides and things like that. But what you don't realize is how she became about with these abilities, how she got these abilities, why she is so interested in being an FBI agent and everything like that. But you basically follow a group of kids and they all have their own kind of story, but you're all following the same characters. So this one mostly follows on Cassie's story. We then have Killer Instinct, which focuses on more of Dean's kind of background. Then we've got All In, which I think is more of Sloane's, I want to say. I think Sloane's the one with all of this, I believe. So I think this is more Sloane's book. And then this one is Bad Blood, and I think we might be following Leah. Maybe this is either Leah. It's either Leah or Sloane. It's one of these two. But we follow the whole group, and there's also like a little novella at the back, hence why this is so chunky. But I genuinely recommend, if you love like mysteries and you genuinely love a good Criminal Minds FBI one, I certainly recommend. The next book I have is Murder in the Family by Cara Hunter. Now, this was on TikTok so long ago. I remember seeing this a couple of years ago, and I was like, I need to know, I need to read. Everyone was rating it 5 stars. Everyone was trying to solve a murder. Everyone was trying to solve everything. But I do definitely recommend it. This is in December 2003. Luke Ryder was found dead in the garden of the family home in London, leaving behind a wealthy older widow and 3 stepchildren. Nobody saw anything. Now secrets will be revealed live on camera. Years later, a group of experts re-examine the evidence on Infamous, a true crime show. While shocking results, does the team know more than they have been letting on, or does the truth lie closer to home? And it is kind of a mixed media, so you've got kind of scripts, you have kind of pictures, you have like news articles and things like that. There is quite a lot of like you've got news articles there, guys. You have text messages between people and things like that. So you have quite a lot, again, another load of news articles. So it is more of a mixed media, but it helps you follow along. And people used to kind of try and guess who the murderer was at the end of it. So I do really recommend that. It's definitely more brain going because it keeps you constantly going. But I rate this a 5 star and I thoroughly enjoyed it. The next series I have for mystery thriller is probably no surprise, but it's A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I really enjoyed this series. I would say Good is Dead is one of my favorites, but I did also like A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. But you are following a girl called Pip, and she basically opens, as one of her kind of classes, she decides to open up the case of a schoolgirl that went missing, Andy Bell, who was murdered 5 years ago. And you kind of have to work out why and what's happened. And again, this is kind of mixed media as well. It doesn't go into too much deep kind of depth of the situation. It is very light, hence why it stays at a YA. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think this is really good to get into some mystery thrillers. It's easy, quick, simple, and Holly Jackson became pretty much one of my favorite authors for mysteries. The next book series I only have the 2 books in her paper copy. I don't have the 3rd book, but it is a 3-book series, and I believe it is completed now. But this is the None Shall Sleep series, and it's got None Shall Sleep, Some Shall Break, and then I can never remember what the 3rd one is. If I'm being honest, I can never remember what the 3rd one is. But in this, it's kind of, again, a bit like FBI, but I believe this is young adult as well. I want to say, I've never been told that it isn't young adult. I believe this is young adult. And you are basically following 2 teenage kind of serial killer survivors, Emma and a US Marshal candidate, Travis Bell. And they're recruited by FBI to interview convicted juvenile killers and kind of why they did it and what started it. And they end up getting linked back to a cold case back in 1982, Quantico, Virginia. And you end up kind of following what happened. And I don't want to give too much away, but they basically have to go and see this incarcerated serial killer who's been kind of locked away and things like that. So it is very interesting. I definitely recommend these books, guys. And you are kind of, and then in this one, you kind of got new killer, same MO, why they linked and things like that. I think they are so floppy. They're so easy to read. I genuinely thoroughly enjoyed these books, guys. So I definitely recommend if you're kind of looking for something a little bit new. Then the last 2 books for mystery, they are classed as mystery thrillers, but I'm just going to class them as kind of YA mystery thrillers. So hence why I've kind of pretty much kept them in the stack of YA. But we have the reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I rated it, I think, a 4 or 4.5 star. I was genuinely shocked by this book. I think this book had me on the edge of my seat and I was obsessed, guys. I don't think I expected to like it as much as I did. I think I was kind of like, oh, like, you know, we've had people cut, like, no, this was something else. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So basically, Rachel Price went missing, I think it was like 15, 16 years ago. It was something like that. Yeah, 16 years ago, Rachel Price disappeared. No one ever found her. No one knew what happened to her. And her family basically start this kind of documentary of 16 years on. How is everyone getting on with their lives? Like, it's a little documentary. And then all of a sudden, she reappears and you got to figure out why. So I think that is really interesting. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Again, I rated it a 4.5. So it was definitely really good. I read this quite quickly. I think I read it within one sitting. I was obsessed. And then the other book we have is Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson, which is also classed as a YA mystery thriller. But I also thoroughly enjoyed this. I think I rated this a 4.75. I was obsessed, guys. When I tell you how obsessed I was. Again, read it all in one sitting. 4.75 was amazing. So in this one, we are following Jet on Halloween, and basically Jet gets attacked. She then has this thing in her brain, like an aneurysm, that if they don't go on surgery, she will die. She has a week to basically solve her own murder, and you basically got to follow it. And I genuinely think it was so good. I think the premise of the book of solving your own murder and with death looming and hanging over your head and things like that, it was very, there was a load of plot twists, kept me going, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I'm now going to go on to thriller books. Now, I think I've tried to mix a few genres up. I don't really have that many thriller books. I probably would say I'm more of a mystery gal, but I have got quite a few. So we have got One by One by Frida McFadden. I do say Frida McFadden is very good, very easy to get into for thrillers. I do, but there are some that I didn't like. But we're here to talk about Rook, so hence why that's in here, because I liked this one. I think I rated this a 4 or 5 star, something like that. So we are basically following a group of people that go away, and you have a mini band that breaks down, and one by one they all get murdered, and I'm leaving it at that, guys. You find out betrayals, secrets, everything like that. So that is One by One by Freedom McFadden. I thoroughly enjoyed them. You can get them from the works. I know they do a lot of hers now, and you can also get some sprayed editions as well. We have The Housemaid by Freedom McFadden. I know the movie's just come out, guys. It's probably no surprise. If any of you not read that, you were living under a rock, and I suggest you go read it. It was a 5-star. So we are basically following a housemaid, basically, and she gets invited to be a housemaid into this person's property, but she isn't all that she seems to be. From behind closed doors, it's not what is actually going on behind closed doors is not the same. And you've kind of got to figure out, really. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I definitely think if I reread it, I would enjoy it just as much as the first time. And I also need to check the movie out, so I do recommend this one, guys. We then have Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell, which I thoroughly enjoyed, guys. Lisa Jewell was, again, one of the authors that I found, and I very quickly became enthralled in her books. So this one is, she was 15, her mother's golden girl. She had her whole life ahead of her, and then in a blink of an eye, Ellie was gone. 10 years on, Laurel has never given up hope of finding Ellie, and then she meets a charming, charismatic stranger who sweeps her off her feet. But what really takes her breath is when she meets his 9-year-old daughter, because his daughter is the image of Ellie. And basically, she then has to find what happened. I think this thriller is not light-hearted. It is definitely one where I would go in and expect the absolute worst, guys. Like, this was so twisted, but I did thoroughly enjoy it. I definitely recommend it. If you want a grippy thriller that's just going to keep you tossing and turning, I really do suggest this one. The next one I think I've got a few Lisa Jewell books here, actually, so I'm just going to grab them. This is a series, the two that I'm picking up next, bear with me one moment, which is The Family Upstairs. The Family Upstairs and The Family Remains. And guys, when I tell you, please be aware that this one is so wild. It is unreal. This was literally something else. This was 5 stars. Both were 5 stars. But this was deranged. This was something else. Like, when I tell you, this thriller, I was texting my mum, and at the time I'd lived with my mum, so I think I was living with my mum when I read these. When I tell you, I was looking at my mum, pulling faces, thinking, what the absolute helly is going on? This is why. And I recommend reading them, guys. And do not read spoilers. Do not do anything. I'm going to let you go in as blind, because so did I. I will let you go in as blind as I can. So we've got one house, 2 families, 3 bodies. In a large house in London's fashionable Chelsea, a baby is awake in her cot, well fed and cared for. She is waiting for someone to pick her up. In the kitchen lie 3 corpses. Close to them is a hastily scrawled note. They've been dead for several days, but who is looking after the baby, and where did they go? Let's just say, I suggest I just leave you with that. And then this one is obviously a sequel to this, but yeah, I definitely recommend. I think I might do a reread of these very soon as well, because I think I'm going to love them in a deranged way as much as possible. But I genuinely enjoyed these books. Then the last Lisa Jewell book I have is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell, and I tell you now, this book was something else. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did, just because I was kind of falling off my Lisa Jewell trend at this point. I was a little bit like meh, but this is worth it. So this one says, celebrating her 45th birthday at a local pub, podcaster Alex Summers crosses paths with an unassuming woman called Josie Fair. Josie is also celebrating her 45th birthday. They're in fact birthday twins. A few days later, Alex and Josie bump into each other, this time outside Alex's children's school. Josie has been listening to Alex's podcasts and thinks she might be an interesting subject for a new series. She tells Alex on the cusp of great changes in her life. Alex agrees to a trial interview. Josie's life appears to be strange and complicated. Although Alex finds her unsettling, she can't quite resist the temptation to keep digging. Slowly, Alex starts to realise that Josie has been hiding some very dark secrets, and before she knows it, Josie has infiled her way into Alex's life and into her home. What has she done? I genuinely think, guys, it is worth the wait. If you want something with twists and turns and just something that you know you're going to sit there and read for about 6 hours, and you're going to make sure that you are on Do Not Disturb. This is the one, guys. The next book I have is Verity by Colleen Hoover. This was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it, guys. I didn't expect myself to be that invested in this book, but I was obsessed. It was a 5-star read. I very much enjoyed it. So we are basically following a writer who's basically struggling to write. He's literally on the brink of financial ruin, and she basically accepts a job of the lifetime. And Jeremy Crawford is the husband of a well written author called Verity Crawford, and he basically says that she would like Lowen to finish the book. So she goes to her house, she reads the manuscript, she gets familiar with their world, and life isn't what it seems, and you will see why. And that is all I'm saying. That is all I am saying. And if you haven't read it, you've been living under a rock, I recommend you read this. The next one I have is 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. Again, this one is more of a thriller one, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So there's 6 friends, 8 hours, 6 friends, 1 sniper, 5 survive. Obviously, you can imagine what happens. But everyone has got a secret, but is their secret worth dying for? And you've got to figure out whose secret was definitely worth dying for. And I think it was so good. I think I also would love to do a reread of this again as well, because I just was so immersed and obsessed. I read this again in one sitting. Holly Jackson does that to me. I will read most of her books in one sitting. It has been very rare that I never do, other than the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. But her more mystery thriller ones, as in the last one she's kind of written, I've sat and devoured in one whole sitting, guys. So I definitely recommend. We've then got a couple of Alice Feeney books. So we have His and Hers, which is by Alice Feeney, and this recently become a Netflix show. I have not watched that yet because I'm a little bit worried and I'm a little bit scared, guys. But we are basically following. Yeah, so we are basically following a woman that was murdered in a Blackdown village. Newsreader Anna Andrews is reluctant to cover the case, and as Anna's ex-husband, DCI Jack Harper, is suspicious of her involvement until he becomes a suspect in his own murder investigation. Someone is lying, and some secrets are worth killing to keep. And you've basically got to find out. There are 2 sides to every story, and at least one person is lying. I solely definitely recommend reading this. And I don't recommend watching the TV show before this, because I think this might be better. I don't know, but again, I definitely think it's worth reading the book. The next book I have is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We've got 2 people who go away for an anniversary, I think, or 10 years of marriage, 10 years of secret, an anniversary they'll never forget. So they're going away to the Scottish Highlands for their 10-year marriage anniversary, and they basically thought that they had secured a remote location where it's perfect, it's quiet. But when their romantic trip takes a dark turn, which is what I love, they find out the truth of secrets, lies, and betrayals. And guys, I definitely recommend reading this book, guys. I absolutely do. We then have Daisy Darker by Alex Feeney, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one. And I think this one I'm going to leave you in quite dark, because when I tell you, if you already knew if you could kind of already imagine what I tell you and you kind of work it out, then I feel like it will just ruin the book for you guys. But I was not expecting the cliffhanger until I actually got the cliffhanger at the end. Not the cliffhanger, sorry, the plot twist at the end, and it was so good. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm just obsessed with this book. So it's Daisy Darker's family were as dark can be. When one of them died, all of them lied and pretended not to see. Daisy Darker is arriving at her grandmother's house for her 18th birthday. It's Halloween and sea glass. The crumbling Cornish house, perched upon its own tiny private island, is at one with the granite rocks it sits on. The Darker family haven't all been in the same place for over a decade, and when the tide comes in, they'll be cut off from the rest of the world for 8 hours. When the tide goes back out, nothing will be the same again, because one of them is a killer. I think the blurb is enough to make you want to read it. We then have The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides, and I honestly, I think this must have been one of the very few first thriller books that I ever read. And when I tell you now, I was sat hooked to this book. I did not go to sleep until I finished the last page. I was up until 3 o'clock in the morning reading this book, pooing my pants like a bloody baby that I was when I read this. And I don't ever regret it. So we are following Alicia Berenson lived a seemingly perfect life until one day 6 years ago when she heard her husband in the head shot 5 times. When she shot her husband in the head 5 times, since then she hasn't spoken a single word. It's time to find out why. And guys, I really recommend it. If you haven't read it already, definitely a good book. And then last but not least, we have The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. I definitely recommend reading this book, guys. I know the second book has recently come out. Yes, I have read it. I just don't own it. This is following Sarah Morgan, is one of the best criminal defense lawyers in her city with a perfect case record. Her life is going exactly as she planned, but the same can't be said for her husband Adam, a failed author who's grown to resent his wife's meteoric success. Adam's secret affair with the alluring Kelly Summers is exposed when Kelly is found murdered at the couple's lake house, and Sarah now finds her facing her most challenging case yet. Defends now her own husband, who stands accused of killing her, of murdering his mistress. While Adam is certainly guilty of sleeping with Kelly, the question remains, is he guilty of killing her too? I definitely think this is worth the read. I think at the end it could be predictable, but I genuinely enjoyed every single moment of this book, thoroughly enjoyed it, and yeah, I think it's worth a read. It's worth to dip your toes in. But that is the end of today's video, and that is all of my book recs for mystery thrillers. So I hope you've enjoyed wherever you are in the world, morning, day, afternoon, evening, who knows. But I hope you have a lovely rest of your day and take care. Bye.